Okay, as we left off in the last video, we were talking about installing our electrical plug for the outside. This is what that looks like. As you can tell, we've already marked it. It's going to be that white plus sign, and we're going to end up starting off with just the basic drill bit, and then we're going to step up to a hole saw to drill that through to go ahead and get this mounted in. So I might have to move the camera just to get in here, but we're going to start this off, and then I'm actually going to probably drill in from the other side.
Should we pull this bitch out?
Alright, so next part after drilling that, we have go ahead and put that in. We've pulled it tight. And on the back side here, we have marked and drilled our holes. Or began to drill the holes. They're marked. And we're going to go and drill those out. Alright, and for this we are going to be using stainless steel for pretty much everything we do. But it's going to be an 8/32 nut and bolt. You got the nylon locking. Put that through, put a washer on the back side, and then a nylon locking nut, and we'll be good with that. So we'll get this slid in and show you the end result. Alright, so from the inside you can see we'll go ahead and touch some of that paint up, but it is aluminum, so it's not a big concern. This, although it does look high, it goes right above the battery box. And from the outside, that's what that's going to look like. And if you disconnect the power, it's got the waterproof seal. That's all you'll see. Alright, you guys, this is kind of the start of part 2, and it's hard because I've been working on this thing all day and I'm jumping around from kind of piece to piece. So let me kind of catch you up where I'm at so far. We're kind of getting ready for the skin to go on tomorrow, so we wanted to get the electrical in. As you can tell, this is going to be our electrical right here on the side, and we're going to have this light here will be our interior lights that we'll go over later, and at the same time, since that's going to be our nighttime lights, it turns the lights for the rest of them on. Then we've got our cigarette socket that you guys saw earlier. This is going to be for some reverse lights out here, and then our pressure washer for our water pump. There you go, so that's working. We did have to change things up a little bit, and I'm not done with this. I don't think this is the end product, but we're still down in here working. I have not connected my actual battery cutoff switch, which is what this will actually be connected to. I'm not going to leave that just connected that way. But that's where we're at with electrical right now. Cleaning it up a little bit, and then this is going to get tucked back in here, and there's going to be a panel on the back side. This is on the back side of this. This is allowing me to have my individual fuses for each one, so I know that it is not going to pull too much amperage. And we kind of labeled them really easy just so we can get to it. Put a little trim right here just so that those wires aren't touching the metal. Coming up here, this is the big thing we've been working on most of the day, is getting in the water tanks. Most of it right here, it's kind of hard to see on the other side, but this is the top one. We had to punch that out and put in our adapter. This is going to be our vents that are pre-tapped for that hole to kind of do that. Not exactly happy with the tube as it is kind of soft and kind of bending. We'll see. We might have to end up moving into something like that that's got a little bit of structure to it. Pull you back here, let you see the actual pump in place and the wiring setup. So this main wire here, or not wire, but hose is coming from that side, which is also the fill side, and it will slowly transfer that water over and help fill this one up. It will be a slow fill, I do know that. The only other way to do it was to put another fill valve in here. It was just gonna be too much. I didn't want to do it, especially for what we're doing and how often we're using. Then it's gonna come up through the filter where these two come together so that it can pull from both of them, and it will come into here where we've got it filtered. Hit the pump, and then this here is going to be the out. The out is then actually going to trace all the way back over, and it's going to go up there by the propane, but we'll stop here for a second. This is going to be vent number 2. It will again go here when this all gets bolted in place. Hopefully tomorrow. About 1 second for you guys. And this is going to be our fill this tube comes up and around, and then our fill valve we're actually going to screw into the front right here. I think I showed you guys that the other day, but if not, we'll come back to it later. Did end up switching out the lower ones. They were saying not to use the metal for the watertight, where this is just a vent, but to use the plastics. I might still replace that out. Lowe's only had so many, we had to run out. So coming over here, this is going to be our hose spigot. As you can see from the back side, we have tapped that in and held it in place. We have not ran our line yet, but the line will get run. With this being here, this will allow us to hook up our hose, and about where I'm standing right now is actually going to be that table that has the wash basin and the sink involved. So that's where we're at now, and hopefully the next time you see this, the top is going to be on. Sorry, I'm probably not going to be able to get that on film, as my welder friend said that he can help me do the bends and the cuts real quick, but he does not have a lot of time, so I'm not going to be able to really get that part on film, but you guys will see the end result. We've also got another project coming along. You're not going to see it on an actual video or anything, but we picked up a bed cap. Now this one was solid white. It had all the windows in it, and I picked it up pretty cheap. What's going to be done with that? This is going in, and it's going to get Line-X, both the top of the bed and the actual OEM top. Get those all Line-X, get a little bit of heat, and that's kind of project in the mix also, trying to get a little bit more storage space while out on the trail. All right, and as you can tell, we are down here running the power wire to the main box. We've come in here and added in our last of our wires. We've got our power wire coming to what is the black, and the black negative wire is actually going to the white ground. Now the white ground is coming in from the 7-pin, and when I'm referring to the black wire for ground is going to the battery. That's gonna come across, kind of up and over right here, come across, and we're just gonna follow this line down. I've still got to finish patching that up, and we're gonna get down there and go ahead and drill it up and through. All right, you guys, and from here I wish I could say I did something original and special to show you guys, but I just followed their line all the way back, plenty of zip ties, brought it back, come across, and there's a little hole that the military already had installed right there. So from there we are just going to poke on up and see if I can get the lighting in here right, but we're just going to grab that wire right here, pull it all the way out, and connect to our battery. Then when we're driving down the road, going to our camping spot, this battery is charging, and while we're also charging, we're also running our refrigerator off of it. So that's the way to get some voltage on it. You could also do a 12 volt to 12 volt DC connector if you're worried about it backfeeding. I know my Jeep particularly has the cutoff so that if the vehicle is off, it's not pulling that battery off of the Jeep. All right, as you can tell, we are moving in to the battery box. We've got that wire ran in, connected to the battery. I can show you that in just a minute here. What I'm showing you here is kind of an idea that I came up with. The fuses that I have are inline fuse that I've got battery connectors, also have a quick disconnect on it. So I'm going to end up using this on the top of the battery, and then this one is going to go straight through to the bottom. So as you can tell, I have already drilled a small hole there and there to match up, and we're going to feed this in. So I try and do this with kind of one hand holding the camera. There we go. And I'm going to button this up and put it together and show you. All right, as you can see, I've gotten this kind of together, got that in. Now that's going to sit right on top where our incoming power from the battery will be plugged in there, and this is outgoing. So if I need to get into this to work, I've got plenty of line. Let me put my ends on and get this thing bolted in. All right, and last minute before I put the lid on, I've tightened everything down. This here is the main wire coming in from the 7-pin adapter. The only other thing I have in here is I got an SAE connector on the front side, which is where I can plug in either a solar panel or the trickle charger. So that's going to go straight to the battery, not through the cutoff. It will be on the front side of it. Just like the incoming power from the Jeep, it will have the ability to charge this battery, whether I have the power switch turned on or off. Then the only other thing coming out is, again, this wire. As you see, it goes up in the bottom. It's now bolted down, and with the connector, that plugs into right here, which then that is running up back into our box up here to distribute that power. All right, and as you can tell, we've got the top on. We'll be going over that here in just a minute, but When doing that, we had a little bit more leftover aluminum than we thought we had. We are going to change out this white piece here that we had. The way that we strapped that down, we're going to go ahead and pull this up, and we're actually got a piece of aluminum to come all the way to the edge and take up the whole entire area. So we're going to get that swapped out, and we'll get some better lighting in this so you guys can see it in better detail. All right, the next part that we are on, we have gotten all of our holes drilled throughout it. We've put it up, test fit, made sure all the holes work. We're going to be putting some of the weather stripping material on here to help give it a little bit of padding between the metal, and then we're also going to burn the holes out like we showed you guys on the last video. Just heat a screwdriver up and it goes right through. All right, so as you can see, we've got the front off. We've got our weather stripping in. We're just going to come up here, get our good measurement, cut it, and do the same thing for the top and the bottom. Coming across, just get a good measurement on it. All right, so for the last one, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take the screwdriver and the flame. We're going to heat it up. And then we're going to come through the holes. If I can find it. There we go. And this will help later on when we go to put the bolts in place, that it won't fight the material. There we go. If you come to the back outside, you now have that hole where it's marked. You can actually kind of make that hole just a little bit bigger. And just finish that up for the rest of them. All right, so as you can see, we came in here. Now we did have to saw the end of the bolt off because it was a little bit long, as you see how far it was sticking out. I had bought 2-inch long. I probably could have gone away with 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 inches, but I wanted to be safe to have enough with not knowing all the measurements I exactly had. This is going to be our water vent valve. I'm showing you from this side because the aluminum is going to come up on the front. But now we've got a way to connect this in. And that's using the one hole for both. Again, I know we talked about earlier maybe replacing this line with one that's got the little bit of braided support. But every time that we've tested it, it hasn't collapsed to not let air through. So it's going to do its job. All right, so as you can see, we have cut the hole in the front of the trailer. This is going to be that front corner. And that's going to be for our water inlet. So we're just going to line that up. We're going to drill our holes from there, and it'll attach to the inside. And that's going to be our water fill. All right, so as you can tell, for the last little while, we have just been working on getting all these holes drilled out, getting everything in position. And it's pretty much bolted up. We got our water completely in now. Everything is bolted on. We're working on the top. We've got all the holes for the metal drilled, but not all of the aluminum. So one of the things I had planned to do was to use these as kind of backup lights. And my plan was to have kind of mounted them on the side like this, but I wasn't sure if I was going to put them here, higher. Well, by dumb luck, and I really mean by dumb luck because I did not plan this, those two holes ended up lining up almost exactly perfect. The only thing I had to do, which I know looks a little weird, is this mount goes to the outside and that one goes to the inside. But as you can tell from a distance, it doesn't really matter and it looks good and it fits without no altercations. So we're going to do the same thing over here. And then the only thing we have to do is put a little power entrance. The one thing you haven't seen yet, my friend that has the weld shop, he's got a bender, and what he's actually going to do is he's going to make a little tiny, almost rain guard that will bend out and prevent that water from flowing down at this upper area. And we'll end up tucking the wire in this upper area, but I've got to wait for that. So that's going to be the one last thing here we add on, some silicone and some other stuff, but by the time you watch this video, it's going to be done. All right, you guys, so we're following up. Got a couple more items in the mail today that we'll go over. First part is going to be some of these straps. These are just we decided they're going to be able to hang up. You can tell there, we can wrap up the extension cord, leave these things kind of hanging inside there. These are going to be the lift gate supports. We're going to end up using those from here to the top to mount on. These are just going to be some of the LED tail lights that we're going to do in addition. I'm just going to pull these things out. There we go. Got them smoked out. I'm thinking about doing kind of like that. No, definitely not going to go that way. Not 100% sure yet. Those might even not end up on it. We're not sure. Got some hose. I did make the mistake. Apparently we were running 1/2 and 3/8. kind of at the same time, I've got to make some corrections in that. So that's just replacing the right tubes out, making sure you get the right components and all that. I believe we're actually going to add a second one of these from the last conversation we had. Not a big deal. We also got some of the lights in. Let's see, they'll turn on here. Gonna hook those up. So these are RGB. They do not have a true white. And the main difference that you're gonna see here is, see how you're seeing kind of a green and a bluish color? All three of those lights actually come on producing the white light. So overall, it's going to produce, actually it might be on green right now, but we can change that up. Give me one sec. And our plan to do that is actually adding 4 for the interior up here. And then we're gonna do 4 on the actual part that will open for that part there. There we go, there's our white. So you see when looking at it, kind of looks reddish color. But you can see kind of the white in there, it's kind of weird. But from the phone control, I can go green, we can go red, blue, yellow, any of the colors we want. These were 4 for, I think, $37 roughly. So I thought they were kind of nice for that. We got the red for when we want to not have mosquitoes and stuff around, but white for when we need a little bit more. They're dimmable. They're just a rock light set. Next part, moving on, we've got an aluminum piano hinge. This is going to be coming up here and will be how we attach our rear door to it. And that's for another project. So let's get moving on some of the rest of it. All right, as you can tell, we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, very far along at this point, almost done. We have the lights installed, which are going to be off of the flip switch here. So this is going to be the main one. When you turn it on, it also gives the lights for the other ones. These will be the rear lights that are going to be back above our actual cooktop area. I got that installed. It's kind of hard to see here, just kind of up in here. The wiring, I'll go a little bit more in depth with a little bit better light to kind of help you guys see all that. These lights here are going to be this wire coming across. That's going to be finished up later. We're waiting on a couple more parts. We've got the straps that you see on the walls here that to strap things down. The water tanks are in. I'll crawl up there in just a second. These lights here, we can actually change color. So this is just the standard white. They do have a kind of a greenish tint, and it's kind of weird. The camera picks it up a little weird. But we can go to more of a white, turquoises, red, green, anything that you want. And they were $38, so I feel happy with that. With that, we'll get the regular light back on here. As you see, we switched up down here. We did have that piece on. That was just a leftover scrap piece I had from a complete other project. And we had a little bit more scrap aluminum left over from this project, so we went ahead and swapped this out, so it's just a little bit better looking and the use of the rest of our material. We've still got to finish bolting the roof up. But let me jump up here and show you kind of what I've done with the lights and the front area for the water tank. All right, so from inside, I know the angles are kind of hard. Lighting's not always the best inside these things, but you can see these are gonna be the rock lights. We have just used some of the self-tap screws along it with the zip ties that have the little tiny holes to hold it. These screws up underneath are where the rooftop tent's gonna be coming down, and also we'll be securing the top with. So we start back here. Got all of our wires, we kind of zip tied them up on the back side, made them all secure. And they follow down along the roof line and across the top there. So that's for the rooftop lights. We'll go ahead and turn that on. Kind of help with the rest of the lighting in here. To follow along, we have the blue wire here, which is going to be our positive and negative for our pump. I haven't finished tightening all these down yet. We might end up running another line through it. But I know some of you guys are interested in this. These tanks here are 16 gallons a piece, and they're going to be, or they are connected between the two. So stepping over here, and I'm trying to make sure I got some good light for you guys. We've got coming out of the tank, this is going to be a tee off, so this one here is coming from that side. It's going to be the water line supplying the water over. These two tanks can self-level because of that. And you've got the vent line on both sides of these that will also allow the water and the air to basically stabilize so you can fill both the tanks. The fill valve is going to be over here on this side. That is that big tube right here coming in from the outside. I think we showed that a little bit earlier. And as you see, that will dump into the tank, and then the line allows it to come back across. It goes up in here through a little tiny filter that we can drain during the wintertime into the small pump, and the pump's gonna pump it back through this line, and then that one's gonna come all the way back across, where I'll have to show you this here. We added one more exterior line so that we could have that water from the front of it in case we wanted to do like a shower or anything else. From here, as it's coming up this line here, it actually comes to a T. When it comes to the T, it comes out here towards the front, and the other T goes back to the back. So you're seeing that line run all the way across the back here and out that side. So let's go take a look at that. All right, so again, coming to the outside, you are seeing this here on the back side. This is gonna be our main one that we're using for our table and everything. And as we come forward, we put the other one right there where we can put a rooftop tent towards the front or anything. Here's our water fill valve from the front. And all these are bolted down. We got it weatherproofed. We do got to come back and do some silicone on it. And I think this thing's about ready to roll. We got a couple of little more small things to finish up. Mainly the top, where you got the piano hinge for up here. We're gonna end up, I'm not sure if it's gonna go flat on this side or if it's gonna come, sorry, the piano hinge is either flat on this side or if it's gonna come up in between the two like that. We're still working on that. If I can get my welder to just do a quick weld for me on that, we'll probably tie it in a little bit smoother. If I gotta use some nuts and bolts, I might have to get a little bit trickier on it. But with that, we'll see what I can get to next year. All right, so we've got the next stage up. We went ahead and test fit our metal. We did that by setting it up. We had the door up, and to get our proper spacing that we wanted, I just used one of my bolts, put it down like that, had the metal sitting on it, positioned it up at the top. We had the piano hinge here slid in place the way that we wanted it, and then we held it up. I went ahead and drilled the first 2 holes there, 2 holes here, and 2 on the end, and brought it down. Went ahead and put in the rivets, which luckily my welder friend had one. He lent it to me. The issue that I was going to have, because I was just going to use nuts and bolts instead of doing this, to realize when the panel was up, I was going to do countersinking bolts on this side, but the nut was going to be out on this side of the material. When it folded up, it was going to hit that top right there. So that's when I realized we couldn't do that. The rivets don't take up as much space. As you can see, I'm going to kind of line it up. You can see I did put a longer one in the back. I'm going to test to see if I can use those instead of the shorter one. But just drilling the holes out right now. Made a line, marked all my spots every 2 inches, every 12 inches, doing doubles just to kind of give it a little bit more. And let's get this thing up and going. All right, as you can see, we have the rear door on. We're not completely done with it yet. We still have to go to the store and get some more. We're actually going to end up putting the bigger ones on. I kind of like the way that they look better than the small ones. So we'll drill those out and swap them out. We've got the nuts and bolts sticking out the back side. We'll have to end up cleaning these up a little bit. But what those are is when you're lifting it up, that is going to be the lights on the bottom side of that. So as it's up over your cooking area, that's where you can cook. That's again going to be on the switch here. So turn master power on. That's going to be the main cabin. Second switch will be your lower lights for there. So that way they are controllable separately by switch and also by the phone. Next, moving on, we have the rain guard that we got bolted on. Let me take a step up here. As you can tell, that is sitting on. I got a little bit of silicone still to clean up a little bit, but that's going to provide that nice little edge that as the water comes, it can feed it over. We have the waterproof inlets coming in here to clean that up. We just got in the backup cameras because we did notice when pulling this the other day, you cannot see anything behind it for a good about 100 yards. It's pretty bad because it's so wide in the top. So we got a dual kit. It's going to be over here and there. We're going to end up figuring out where we want that. We're looking at maybe down here, even up on the side. Not 100% sure where we want that yet, but we will figure that out. The inside is pretty much done, as you saw. Not much left on that. And I believe that's it. We got to get a couple more bolts, as you saw. We just did 3, trying to conserve, and it kind of created a little bit of a lip area. So we're going to bring that down by putting extra bolts in there. And I believe that's it for the night. We're heading to bed, but it'll be about 1 second for you to be seeing the next step here in just a moment. Go for it. Hold on before you do the next one. All right, so as you just saw in that last one, what we ended up noticing is without putting any pressure on the back, we were getting a little bit of a bend. So what we're doing is taking a wrench, go ahead and insert. When he inserts, I'm gonna put this in and compress it, go. And as you see, that sits a lot flatter. So we're gonna continue down the line doing the rest of those. So he inserts in, I put my tool up, go. And that's greatly reducing that. We'll do the next one. Again, inserts in, compress, go. And we're just gonna work down the line doing that. All right, we have come far along. As you can tell, we've got the back up. I believe we already covered that. We got the lights going. We've got the wiring nice and pretty. Used some of the self-adhesive pads here, some zip ties. We did screw these in. We swapped out for stainless steel bolts, obviously. Got all our switches in. Our rear lights are now working. Cigarette lighter. That one's still empty. And water. This is controlling the back right above our head right here. And that one's controlling the main cabin. The nice part with these, you can control them all as one, or you can control them different zones by changing the brightnesses and colors, all that in the app. So that was kind of nice on that. We got this up here, just a lot of ugliness on the back side of here for wiring. Might be able to pull that back off a little later. Kind of finishing up here on the inside where we've got all our wires. This is going to be our switch right here. You turn that on and off, and that gives power to just the rear cameras that we put on this. We got two of them. They do overlap quite a bit. This is our solution for it. This is actually a much bigger screen than I wanted. I only wanted a 5-inch, but they didn't sell the 5-inch screen with the dual cameras unless you bought them all individually, and they had a deal going on this. It was like $120. But what I did is on the back side of it, I call them ram mounts. This particular one is a different brand. It was Archon. I installed one of them a little while ago in the Jeep. If you don't remember that video, I'd go back and look at it. But let's take a look at how we're doing that. All right, so jumping in the Jeep. As you can tell, we've already got that second ball right there. I put that in a good while back. One for GoPro or two for anything else we ever needed to install. We use this one for a GMRS radio, and I've got the Jeep Unique for my CB radio. So we got all that covered. Up top here, we've got the two different plugs. This one here is going to be the Cat 5 connector for the GMRS radio. And then this is going to be just a USB-C power for GoPro camera or anything else that's needed. Although this does have a 12-volt source I could plug into a USB, they don't make one for the USB-C, so I'm either going to be using the cigarette lighter that I added down here in the side. I did that way long ago, but basically knowing that this was coming. So long story short, let's get this put in and see how it looks. To install these, they're pretty easy. They just kind of go up over the ball, and then I've got to add the second one in, just like that, with my second hand. All right, as you can see, got that done. From the driver's view back here, let me get you to about head level. That's just kind of off to the side. It does take up a lot more space than I really wanted to. Like I said, I really wanted the 5-inch. I wish I could plug it into the factory radio or even put it up top here, but I've got the soft top Sunrider just for my setup. So with that, let's turn that on. And when I get to the trail, this is going to come off. This will not be trail ridden. I will not leave the screen there. I don't like that much of my vision being taken. But when we were pulling, we couldn't see anything out of our mirrors. I'll try to get some video of that maybe later. But as you can tell from the driver's view, me looking forward at the roadway, it is off here to the side. So if anything does occur back there, I'm able to kind of glance over and look at it. I haven't played with this a whole lot, but I should be able to go in there and change some of the view settings. So I can have just a single camera up if I wanted, or the double. I haven't played with it a lot. Like I said, this was primarily because of the price for how often we tow. They do make some other brands out there, better ones. So they say. I did this one really because of the price. All right, you guys. So this is pretty much done. I think it's enough to get the video out. I'm going to finish up these panels right here. As you can see, we've already fit them. They're overlapping. We just got to bolt these in. Obviously, you guys know how to do that. The camera's there. We might end up putting some stickers back here or something. It is very reflective. We know that. Still not sure if we're going to do paint or what we're going to do. Same with this side here. We've got to put the bolts on. We have finished up pretty much everything on the inside. with this being pulled out, it provides a lot of good light right on over us. I think we've gone over everything in there at this point. I'm trying to not leave anything out for you guys. But yeah, we're pretty much good and gonna wrap it up. The only thing left to do now is put the rooftop tent on. That's gonna be tomorrow, but that'll probably be my next video. And I have a film for the next video. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys how much I spent on this thing. That way, if you guys think about doing a project like this and this in depth, you guys know how to plan for it. I've got my price breakdown for almost everything. So I'm not big at trying to get you guys to follow, like, subscribe, any of that mess. It's not my thing. But if you do want, leave some comments in there thinking what you guys think this is gonna cost. And probably in about a week from now, I think I'll put out the price. I'm surprised at what it came out to. It was a good project. Parts of it were more, parts of it were less, but overall, I'm really happy with it. And we'll see you guys here on the next one.